blank piece of paper. This has multiple titles. Let's pick this one. It is Prime Factorization. Also known as, aka, product of primes. And also known as the tree thing. And simply all three of them are ways that you break down a number so that it is all prime numbers multiplied together. It is what you did on problem number 25 when they told you to show how 9, 10, and 12 can be multiplied using prime numbers. So let us look at this thing here. First of all, let's start with the number 9 because you already did that. If you were to prime factorize number 9, that's what the directions told you. Prime factorize it. There are two ways that really work for prime factorization, and that's what these two things are. You've got product of primes, and you've got the tree thing. Okay? Oh, wait. Maybe there's another one. I'm sorry. You have to put AKA. I got one more other AKA. I missed. AKA division by primes. Sorry about that. We'll start with the tree thing, which is really the same thing as product of primes. Which means you just go off of the number 9, you make little branches, and you say what times what gives you 9. Now before you start that, please don't use the number 1 because the number 1 doesn't get you anywhere. Here's my example of that. Well, you could tell me, well, 9 times 1 gives me 9, right? Well, then you could say, well, 9 breaks down into 9 times 1. Well, and then 9 breaks down into 9. You're not getting anywhere when you use ones, okay? Because 1, by the way, is not a prime number anyways. So when you do the division, you just have to say what number besides 1 can I multiply together to get 9, which Chase would say 3 times 3. Once you get to prime numbers, you can stop. Okay, so I can stop with 3 times 3 because those are both prime. I can't break them down. Don't do 3 times 1 because that's just going to keep giving you 3's. So then, once you get all prime numbers down there, you can say, well, 9, the product of primes of 9 is 3 times 3. And please put them in order because when I read them, I'll put them in order. Another example might be 12. We did 12. Now, there are a bunch of different ways to divide up 12. You could say what? 6 times 2, right? Are either of those prime numbers? Joseph?
One of them is.
Which one?
The 2.
Right, 2 is prime, so you don't have to break it down anymore, but 6 can be broken down into 3 times 2, right? And both of those are prime numbers, so you can stop. So, if you break down 12, you end up with 2 2's and a 3. 2 times 2 times 3. And this is your product of primes. If I remultiply that, I get 12. And there's no wrong answer to breaking down 12 because you could break down 12 into 4 times 3, in which case you can stop with the 3, but then you can break 4 down into 2 times 2. It still ends up being the same thing, 2 times 2 times 3. Did we do this last year?
No.
This Let's try a harder one. What about 100? What times what gives me 100? Zach?
50 and 2.
All right, 50 times 2. Any of those prime? Yes. You can stop with 2. What times what gives me 50? Chase?
25 times 2.
25 times 2. I can again stop with the 2. Can I break down 25? Yes, it is. Ulrich? What times what gives me 25?
5 times
5 times 5. Are those both prime? Yes. So it's really, this is one of those things where you really need to try to keep yourself organized, because otherwise, if you do a really big number, you can get lost and all that. But 100 is 2 2s times 2 5s. When you break it down into product of prime numbers. Isn't that exciting? One more, 64, and then we'll talk about division by primes. 64. What times what gives me 64? Morgan.
32.
Times?
2.
Yeah, 32 times 2. Either one of those prime?
2.
2. Can I break down 32? What times what is 32? Aaron Murray?
8 times 4.
8 times 4. Oh, look, neither one of those is prime. They can both be broken down. 8 is 4 times 2, right? 2 is prime. 4 is 2 times 2. Those are both prime. And then what do I have to do to 4? Caleb? 2 times 2, right?
Yeah.
So what do I end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 2s. 64 is 6 2s times themselves. Good for you, good for me. What do we got, Madison? Did I do something wrong?
No, I just got it lost.
Now, that is the tree thing, and what was our other name for that? Multiplication by prime. Product of primes in the tree thing. Another way to prime factorize is to do division by primes. And this is how it looks. It doesn't look like a tree. It looks like a bunch of division problems because that's what it is. Let's say I have the number 80. I put it under the division box. And you always just want to divide by a prime number. And if it's an even number, I just strongly suggest you divide it by 2 because it's easy to cut numbers in half. So 80 divided by 2, which is a prime number, is 40. And then you look at 40 and say, what can I divide that by? Well, if it's even again, I would keep dividing it by 2. 2 goes into 40 20 times. And then 2 again gives me 10. And then 2 again gives me 5. When you get to a prime number on top here, you could stop. Or maybe it could be divided by 3 or whatever. And then these are all the factors that you would write down for 80. 80 is 4 2s times 5. That is division by primes. Let's try, what if it was, I don't know, 225. And I said to prime factorize it, and I said to use division by primes. Because of your laws of divisibility that I'm sure you're incredibly knowledgeable about, what number would you divide 225 by? You don't want to use 2 because it's not even, and what would even in that, Lauren, you would probably do?
25.
Okay, now you want to use a prime number. You don't want to do 25 because 25 is not a prime number.
5.
5 is where I would go. 5 goes into 225, how many times? What, 45 times? No, 43 times? 20, 25, oh, 45 times, no. Okay, and then what can you divide 45 by?
5.
A prime number. You say 5, Zach? So there's my 5, which gives me 9. Can 9 be divided by any prime numbers? which would be a 3 times a 3, and then it's prime up there. So 225 is 3 times 3 times 5 times 5. Don't you just want to go talk to your friends, neighbors, and families, and just show them how to do primes or primes? How about I just give you one? Do 48. Prime fact. Do we do 48? We haven't done 48. Do division of primes for 48 and tell me what you get for prime numbers. Your product of primes with 48. With 48. You got it? What was the first thing you divided by, Olivia?
I divided by 2.
2. Cut 48 in half, you end up with 24. Then what did you divide 24 by?
2.
Cut 24 in half, you're left with 12. And then what did you divide 12 by?
2.
And you got 6. And then what did you cut 6 by? Tell me I got more. Do I have more? Oh, yeah. Oh, look at that. Come on, those are all. 2, and you ended up with a 3, and 3 is prime, so you end up with 1, 2, 3, 4 2s and a 3. Everybody good with that? Do we need to go any farther?